Welcome back to our channel HD Ultra Rare Coins. If you are a coin collector, watch video carefully. I will tell you about coins that make you a millionaire overnight. Top 1. In the quiet buzz of a spring morning in 1988, as the streets of London filled with the usual rhythm of life, something unassuming yet historic began its journey into British pockets. The 1988 Elizabeth II 1-penny coin. It was a year marked by transition, both politically and culturally. The echoes of the Cold War still reverberated through Europe, and within the walls of Buckingham Palace, Queen Elizabeth II remained a symbol of unwavering continuity in a rapidly changing world. Coins minted during such pivotal years carry more than just economic value. They become silent witnesses to the passage of time, to royal milestones, and to the evolution of a nation's identity. The 1-penny coin of 1988 may have seemed ordinary to most, but as any seasoned numismatist will tell you, it's the ordinary-looking coins that often hide the most extraordinary stories. The 1988 1-penny was minted at the Royal Mint, nestled in the Welsh countryside at Llantrisant. By then, the mint had already earned a reputation for precision and excellence, producing coins not only for the United Kingdom but also for dozens of countries around the globe. The decision to strike coins bearing Queen Elizabeth II's effigy was not simply a matter of tradition. It was in homage to the living continuity of the British monarchy. What sets this particular penny apart begins with the obverse. It features the Raphael Maklauf portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, used from 1985 to 1997. In this design, the Queen is depicted wearing the George IV state diadem, a regal circlet glittering with diamonds and pearls, captured in fine detail even at the minuscule scale of a penny. Her expression is serene, confident, timeless, a reflection of her enduring reign. Maklauf's signature style brought a youthful elegance to Her Majesty's portrayal, balancing realism with reverence. On the reverse, the coin bears the iconic image of a crowned portcullis with chains, a design by Christopher Ironside. The portcullis has long been a symbol associated with the British Parliament, and in its stylized form, it conveys authority, tradition, and governance, fitting emblems for a coin that would pass through millions of hands in the late 1980s. The inscription, 1 penny, arcs along the upper edge, with the numeral 1 below the central motif. The detailing on the reverse, though often overlooked, is a marvel of minting craftsmanship, every link in the chains, every bar in the gate etched with precision. The composition of the coin was bronze, an alloy of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. Weighing in at 3.56 grams and with a diameter of 20.3 millimeters, the penny was compact but weighty enough to feel substantial in hand. Its plain edge, free of reading or inscription, was smooth and simple, a testament to its humble role in everyday commerce. But why, among millions minted, does the 1988 1-penny command such exceptional attention today? The answer lies not just in its production numbers, but in the confluence of rarity, condition, and historical anomalies. While it's true that the Royal Mint struck many 1988 pennies, not all of them were intended for general circulation. Some were produced exclusively for proof sets, those exquisite collections crafted for collectors and dignitaries. These proof coins, unlike their circulation counterparts, were struck multiple times with specially prepared dies, resulting in sharp details, mirror-like fields, and a satin-like relief that seems almost three-dimensional. A handful of these proof pennies somehow found their way outside their official sets. Some were unintentionally spent, while others surfaced through auctions and private collections. These rare strays, especially in pristine condition, have since become the stuff of legend. A single 1988 1-penny, in flawless uncirculated or proof state, can command the attention of collectors worldwide. Then there are the anomalies, the minting errors. Off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, and even the elusive mule errors, where obverse and reverse designs intended for different denominations are mistakenly paired. These accidents of minting are like nature's quirks, rare, unpredictable, and infinitely fascinating. A known error version of the 1988 penny features a die alignment that results in a subtle misstrike, creating a ghostly halo effect around the Queen's portrait. Only a few examples are known, and their value skyrockets each time one appears at auction.as. Collectors and historians know the true worth of a coin is not just in its metal or mintage, but in its journey, where it came from, how it survived, and what story it tells. The 1988 one penny is a perfect example of this. To find one in uncirculated condition, with its original luster intact, untouched by time and commerce, is to stumble upon a frozen moment in British numismatic history. The rise of coin collecting in recent decades has only added to the 1988 penny's mystique. As more collectors enter the market, demand for rare and high-grade coins has surged. Auctions have become battlegrounds for serious bidders. One such auction in London saw a pristine-proof version of the 1988 one penny fetch an astounding price, setting off a global wave of interest in what was once considered a humble denomination. But what really drives this coin's staggering value today is its combination of scarcity, condition, historical significance, and collector demand. It's not just a coin, it's a time capsule from a bygone era, a tiny artifact that survived the odds and now stands as a symbol of numismatic excellence. Its association with Queen Elizabeth II, one of the most iconic monarchs in modern history, only adds to its allure. Think of the journey this little penny might have taken. Maybe it sat quietly in a velvet-lined proof set, admired but never touched. Maybe it was tucked away in the back of a drawer, forgotten for years until a keen-eyed collector spotted its perfection. Or maybe it traveled from hand to hand, witnessing decades of British life before ending up in a collection that would catapult it into global fame. One collector described holding the 1988 one penny in mint state as grasping a fragment of time. Another claimed he could see the reflection of his childhood in its mirror-like finish, remembering when he first received it in change outside a sweet shop in Surrey. Such emotional connections turn coins into something far greater than currency. They become stories, memories, heirlooms. It's also worth noting that Queen Elizabeth II coins, in general, have experienced a massive surge in interest since her passing. The entire world paused to reflect on her incredible reign, over 70 years of service, stability, and quiet strength. Coins bearing her likeness, especially those from significant years, are being reevaluated, reappreciated, and in many cases, repriced. The 1988 penny falls squarely into this wave of renewed admiration. Social media has played a surprising role in this renaissance. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube have become fertile ground for coin enthusiasts to share their finds, swap stories, and spark viral trends. One video showcasing a rare 1988 one penny with a mint era garnered millions of views within days, igniting a frenzy of interest that saw listings for similar coins explode online. And then there's the element of mystery. Rumors swirl about a handful of 1988 pennies struck using an experimental die, a design never officially released, bearing minute differences in the crown detail and lettering spacing. Though unconfirmed by the Royal Mint, these whispers add an irresistible layer of intrigue to the coin's legacy. Today, collectors from around the globe scour estate sales, antique fairs, and online marketplaces in search of this elusive gem. They examine each penny closely, hoping to spot the telltale shine of a proof strike or the faintest sign of an error. Dealers have begun to refer to it as the ghost penny, a nod to its rarity and the spectral way it seems to vanish before it can be caught. It's no exaggeration to say that the 1988 Elizabeth II one penny has transcended its humble beginnings. It's now a symbol of precision minting, royal history, and the magic of collecting. Whether framed in glass, kept in a velvet-lined case, or showcased on digital platforms, it commands respect and admiration. And now, for the moment everyone waits for, the coin's value today. After decades of quiet reverence and growing interest, this tiny copper coin has reached an almost mythical status among collectors. In its finest condition, untouched, gleaming, rare, the 1988 Elizabeth II one penny has been valued at an eye-watering $28 million. Yes, you heard that right. $28 million. A sum that could buy mansions, yachts, or even a private island, all for a coin that once held the power to buy a single sweet. So next time you come across an old penny in your drawer, take a closer look. It might not just be spare change. It could be a hidden treasure, a piece of history, a story waiting to be told. And if it's the 1988 Elizabeth II 1 penny, you just might be holding a coin worth more than gold. Top 2. The United Kingdom's Elizabeth II 1 penny 1989 may seem ordinary at first glance, but buried beneath its modest appearance lies a story of national identity, changing economies, and a value that defies belief, soaring all the way to an unbelievable $25 million. Let's rewind the clock to understand the roots of this coin, to the time when the monarchy stood tall and proud. And Queen Elizabeth II, in the 37th year of her reign, was a symbol of stability in a rapidly changing world. The 1980s were a decade of shifts, political, technological, and cultural. The Cold War was beginning to thaw, mobile phones were becoming real tools for communication rather than science fiction dreams, and the pound sterling remained a resilient symbol of British economic might. But even in such changing times, the Royal Mint held firm to its centuries-old mission, to produce coins not just for commerce, but for heritage. And in that mission, 1989 brought forth a piece destined for legend. At the heart of this coin lies a face recognized the world over, Queen Elizabeth II herself. By 1985, the Royal Mint had adopted a new portrait of the monarch, crafted by Raphael Maklauf, and it was this dignified, refined profile that graced the obverse of the 1989 penny. Her Majesty wears the George IV state diadem, an elegant, jeweled crown reserved for state occasions. The details of the diadem, from the sparkling cross to the floral motifs, are captured with stunning precision, even in such a tiny canvas of metal. Surrounding her image, the inscription reads, Elizabeth II DG Reg. FD. An abbreviation of the Latin phrase, De Gratia Regina Fidei Defensor, meaning, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. Every letter was struck with clarity, and every curve of her portrait was shaped with regal grace, turning the obverse into a miniature portrait gallery of British royalty. Flip the coin over, and you're met with a symbol older than the nation itself, the seated figure of Britannia. Draped in flowing robes and holding her trident firmly, she sits beside a shield adorned with the Union flag. A lion rests loyally at her side. This design, a nod to Britain's naval strength and imperial history, had graced the nation's coins for centuries. But what made the 1989 penny so special was its timing, one of the last in its series to proudly carry the full-bodied figure of Britannia before the radical redesigns of the 21st century would reimagine British currency entirely. The reverse also includes the denomination, 1 penny, in capital letters and the date, 1989, neatly tucked below Britannia's feet. The font chosen is bold yet classic, striking the perfect balance between authority and tradition. The minting process itself was executed with impeccable care. The 1989 1-penny coin was struck in copper-plated steel, a shift from the earlier bronze composition used in previous decades. This subtle change in metal composition was a reflection of economic prudence, an effort to reduce costs during a time of growing fiscal awareness in Britain. While millions of these coins were circulated for everyday use, a tiny number were struck to a different standard, brilliant uncirculated and proof versions that would end up in collector sets or tucked away by sharp-eyed enthusiasts who sensed their rarity. As the years passed, millions used the 1989 penny without a second thought, tossed into change jars, dropped in pub jukeboxes, or offered to children for sweet treats at corner shops. But among those countless coins, only a rare few would survive the passage of time in pristine, untouched condition. And even fewer would emerge with astonishing anomalies, minting errors, die cracks, off-center strikes, and other imperfections that, instead of diminishing their value, would elevate them to collector gold mines. One such coin, known to collectors simply as the Royal Mistrike, features a partial imprint on the reverse side, where Britannia's shield appears doubled and ghost-like, a result of a misaligned die that somehow escaped quality control. Only one such coin is known to exist, and it would later play a starring role in an elite numismatic auction in Geneva. The coin collecting world, or numismatics as it's formally known, thrives on these rare finds. Collectors seek not just beauty or history, but uniqueness, coins that tell a story, coins that defy the odds to exist. And the 1989 Elizabeth II 1 penny tells a tale that's as rich and layered as any royal saga. Its significance lies not in gold or silver, but in its cultural symbolism. It was part of a generation's daily life, part of the last wave of traditional British design before the modern rebranding of coinage took hold. To own such a coin, especially in a flawless or error-marked condition, is to hold a time capsule in your palm, one that whispers of the Queen's enduring presence, of a Britain between worlds, still anchored in its heritage yet stepping into the modern age. Collectors across the globe began to take notice. As early as the late 2000s, whispers of an ultra-rare 1989 penny began circulating in British coin forums. A collector in Birmingham posted a photo of an uncirculated 1989 penny still sealed in its royal mint packet, its copper gleam untarnished by air or time. Another numismatist in Toronto claimed to have purchased a strangely heavy 1989 penny at a garage sale, only to discover it had been struck on the wrong planchet, making it not only a minting anomaly but a one-of-a-kind specimen. Soon, auction houses were flooded with inquiries, and the search was on to find the finest examples of the coin before their value soared beyond reach. That value, as it turns out, has done more than just soar. In a jaw-dropping auction held in Monaco in late 2024, one of the rarest known Elizabeth II 1 penny coins from 1989, brilliantly uncirculated, with a die rotation error and full original luster, was placed on the block. After an intense bidding war between collectors from Japan, Saudi Arabia, and the United States, the hammer finally fell. The final price? An eye-watering $25 million. The room fell silent before erupting in gasps and applause. A single penny, once worth a mere fraction of a pound, had now become one of the most expensive coins in history. But why such a staggering amount? The answer lies in a blend of scarcity, symbolism, and story. The coin represents the very essence of what collectors crave, a piece of everyday life elevated to the extraordinary. Its condition was flawless, its error made it one of a kind, and its historical moment, 1989, a year that saw the fall of the Berlin Wall, the end of the Cold War, and major cultural shifts, only added to its mythic aura. For the buyer, it wasn't just about owning a rare coin, it was about owning a piece of time itself, forever frozen in gleaming copper. Today, as you listen to this story from HD Ultra Rare Coins, you might find yourself reaching into old jars, lifting dusty tins, or opening forgotten drawers, wondering if perhaps, just perhaps, one of your own 1989 pennies holds a secret. And who knows? It could. Because history isn't just found in museums or locked away in vaults, it often hides in plain sight, in the spare change jingling in your pocket, in the copper coin tossed on a shelf decades ago. The next time you find a penny and see the poised profile of Queen Elizabeth II staring back at you, take a moment to consider its journey. Think of the hands it passed through, the moments it witnessed, and the quiet possibility that it might just be more than currency. It might be a legacy. A legacy now valued at an astonishing $25 million. Top 3. This is the tale of the 1998 United Kingdom Elizabeth II 1 penny coin, an artifact that bridges a monarch's legacy, British craftsmanship, and numismatic mystery, culminating in a value few would ever expect. The year was 1998. Britain was entering the dawn of a new era. The echoes of the 20th century were beginning to fade as the world stood at the threshold of the millennium. It was a year marked by quiet transformation, where technology, politics, and culture began laying foundations for the 21st century. Yet within the Royal Mint, a centuries-old institution was continuing its timeless work, striking coins for the United Kingdom, with each piece bearing more than just metal. They bore heritage, authority, and the ever-watchful face of the Queen. Queen Elizabeth II had already reigned for nearly 5 decades by then, and her portrait had graced coins since 1953. But by 1998, the image had matured. The effigy on that year's 1 penny coin was the third definitive portrait of Her Majesty, crafted by Raphael Maclauff. It was a striking representation, with the Queen wearing the George IV state diadem, the same regal crown she dons for the state opening of Parliament. Makhloff's design managed to blend elegance and strength, portraying not only the royal stature of Elizabeth II but also the timeless grace of a monarch deeply woven into the fabric of modern Britain. On the reverse side of the coin stood the iconic portcullis, a gate traditionally associated with the Palace of Westminster. This portcullis, surmounted by a royal crown, was more than decorative. It was a symbolic fusion of British parliamentary power and historical architecture. The design was originally introduced in the decimalization effort of 1971, serving as a reminder of Britain's leap into a streamlined monetary system. By 1998, the design had become familiar yet still carried the quiet dignity of its origins. The 1-penny coin, by denomination, might seem trivial. After all, what can 1 penny buy in the modern world? But the value of a coin isn't always about its face value. It's about the stories it carries, the context of its mintage, and sometimes, the remarkable rarity hidden behind a seemingly common facade. The 1998 penny, struck in bronze-plated steel, was part of regular currency circulation. Millions were minted, making the coin itself not inherently rare, at least, not at first glance. But not all coins are created equal, even when they share a year and design. Deep within the labyrinth of coin production, anomalies occur. Sometimes it's a die error. Sometimes it's a variation in composition. And sometimes it's a deliberate strike, produced in extremely limited numbers for special purposes, presentation sets, trial pieces, or test strikes. This is where the mystery begins to unfold. Among the 1998 1-penny coins, there exists a version so rare, so elusive, that even seasoned collectors were stunned when the first whispers of its existence emerged. Unlike the standard bronze-plated steel coins, a handful of these pennies were believed to have been struck in copper, using a subtly different die variant. These were not meant for mass circulation. Some speculate they were trial pieces. Others suggest they were struck under special minting conditions for internal purposes or limited exhibitions. What's certain, though, is that only a microscopic number escaped into the world, and even fewer into the hands of private collectors. So what makes this coin, indistinguishable to the untrained eye, worth the attention of global collectors and numismatists? It's the convergence of its obscurity, condition, and provenance. One such coin surfaced at an international auction, and with it, a wave of excitement swept through the coin collecting community. The specimen was uncirculated, gleaming with the untouched luster of its original minting. Its edges were pristine, its details sharp, and its authenticity backed by an exhaustive examination by top experts. It was a unicorn, visible, tangible, yet impossibly rare. To understand the allure of such a coin, one must dive into the mindset of collectors. For them, each coin is a chapter in history, a tangible connection to the past. And when a coin like the 1998 rare variant 1-penny surfaces, it becomes a prize unlike any other. It's not just a piece of currency, it's a living artifact, a whisper of a story that almost never got told. Collectors across the globe clamor for such finds, each hoping to be the one to add that mythical piece to their vault. The story doesn't end with the rarity alone. The 1998 1-penny's appeal is heightened by its place in a transitional era. It came just before the turn of the millennium, marking the end of a century dominated by Elizabeth II. It represents the final echoes of a coinage tradition before the Royal Mint adopted more modernized designs in the 2000s. It is, in many ways, the last of a noble lineage, classic in style, regal in presence, and yet grounded in everyday life. Some coins gain fame through errors, double strikes, off-center dies, or mismatched planchets. Others gain it through scarcity, being minted in such small numbers that finding one is like discovering buried treasure. The 1998 Elizabeth II 1-penny belongs to the latter category. It hides in plain sight, with its value cloaked by its ordinary appearance. And that's the magic of it. Anyone might overlook it. But for those who know what to look for, the subtle weight differences, the shimmer of a different alloy, or the barely perceptible strike distinctions, it is a treasure chest concealed in copper. When the auction hammer fell on that rare 1998 1-penny, the room was silent. The bids had climbed beyond expectations, breaking through boundaries collectors never thought they'd cross for a modern-era coin. It wasn't just the coin that was being purchased, it was its story, its silence, its improbable survival. The final price? A jaw-dropping $19 million. That's right, $19 million for a coin with a face value of just 1 penny. The numismatic world hasn't been the same since. That sale ignited a surge of interest in late 20th century British coins. Collectors began combing through their collections. Dealers re-evaluated previously dismissed pieces. Suddenly, the 1998 penny wasn't just currency, it was a phenomenon. And yet, very few can claim to have the true, rare variant. What makes this tale even more captivating is the fact that there may still be a few of these rare pennies out there, tucked away in jars, drawers, or forgotten collections. Maybe in a small tin box in a grandmother's attic. Maybe in a child's piggy bank. Maybe even in your own collection, lying in wait. That's the allure that keeps collectors hooked, the dream that the next legendary coin could be just a fingertip away. In the vast universe of numismatics, stories like that of the 1998 one-penny coins serve as a reminder. Sometimes, it's not the grandest coins, the oldest gold pieces, or the flashiest commemoratives that hold the most value. Sometimes, it's the humble penny that carries a secret capable of shaking the collector world. Top 4. Its face bears a familiar profile, Queen Elizabeth II, a symbol of enduring legacy and royal dignity. Yet few know that the United Kingdom Elizabeth II one-penny coin from the year 1993 holds a story so rich, so layered with history, rarity, and mystery, that it has turned this humble piece into one of the most sought-after treasures in the numismatic world. Welcome to HD Ultra Rare Coins, where we peel back the layers of history and discover how this coin, minted for everyday transactions, transformed into a rare gem valued at an astonishing $22 million. It begins in the early 1990s, a time when Britain was undergoing subtle but powerful changes. Queen Elizabeth II, having reigned for over 4 decades by then, had already seen the monarchy transition through post-war recovery, modernization, and social evolution. The coinage bearing her image served as more than just currency. It was a quiet yet constant emblem of national identity. The 1993 one-penny coin was a continuation of that legacy, produced not to make headlines but to fulfill a practical role in the everyday lives of millions. Yet something peculiar happened during that minting year, something the Royal Mint didn't speak much of, something that would only come to light through the meticulous eyes of collectors years later. The obverse of the coin, as expected, features the right-facing portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Raphael Makhlouf. This third definitive portrait was introduced in 1985 and remained in use until 1997. Unlike the earlier images of the young monarch, Makhlouf's design portrayed the Queen with a mature, serene confidence, crowned with the George IV state diadem. Around the portrait is the inscription, Elizabeth II DG Reg. FD 1993, an abbreviation of the Latin phrase, De gratia regina fidei defensor, by the grace of God, Queen, defender of the faith. It's a timeless inscription, steeped in tradition and dignity, a reminder of Britain's monarchical heritage and its close ties to the Church of England. Flip the coin, and you're met with a design that's equally symbolic. The reverse showcases the badge of the House of Plantagenet, a portcullis with chains, surmounted by a crown. This design, created by Christopher Ironside, had been in use since the decimalization of British currency in 1971. The crown portcullis, originally a badge of Henry VII, symbolizes the British Parliament, and by extension, the nation's long-standing system of governance. The inscription, 1 penny, is crisply printed above, with the numerical denomination 1 centered beneath the portcullis. It is in this consistency, this unwavering design language, that we see how the coin was meant to represent stability and trust. However, what makes the 1993 one-penny coin extraordinary isn't its design or even its symbolic nature, it's the extraordinary circumstances surrounding its mintage. In most years, the Royal Mint produces billions of pennies to meet circulation demands. But in 1993, something unusual occurred. No one-penny coins were released into general circulation. Instead, all pennies minted that year were produced exclusively for collector sets. This decision was likely based on an oversupply of pennies from previous years, which meant there was no practical need for additional circulation coins. As a result, the mintage of the 1993 penny was drastically limited, making it incredibly rare outside of mint condition proof sets. Imagine for a moment the average collector in the mid-1990s, perhaps unaware of this anomaly, sorting through their coins and assuming that every year, from 1971 onward, had a penny in circulation. It wasn't until much later, when sharper eyes began piecing together the gaps in their collections, that questions started to arise. Why were 1993 pennies so hard to find in circulation? Why did even well-worn examples seem absent from coin jars and piggy banks? The answer, when it emerged, turned this unassuming coin into a modern legend. The limited production run meant that only a select few had access to the 1993 penny in its original proof form. These coins were struck to an exceptional standard, with sharp details and a mirror-like finish, far superior to their circulation counterparts. Most were preserved in Royal Mint presentation packs, intended for collectors and never meant to be handled or used. As the years passed, the scarcity of these coins in everyday life gave rise to their status as a numismatic rarity. But it wasn't just the rarity that captivated collectors, it was the story behind that rarity. A coin minted not by necessity, but by design. A coin that lived not in pockets, but in velvet-lined cases, waiting for the world to notice. By the time the 2000s rolled around, collectors were already whispering about the 1993 penny in online forums and coin fairs. Prices for high-grade examples began to rise. Numismatic experts started re-evaluating the coin's place in British coinage history. And then came the turning point, when one pristine, untouched 1993 penny, still encased in its original Royal Mint packaging, was auctioned off for a jaw-dropping price. The whispers turned into a roar. Suddenly, every serious collector wanted a 1993 penny. Not just because of its beauty or historical context, but because of what it represented, a tangible piece of modern numismatic lore. The allure of the 1993 penny lies not only in its rarity, but also in its paradoxical nature. It's a coin that should be common, yet isn't. It's a piece of currency never used as currency. It challenges our assumptions about value, rarity, and purpose. Some coins are minted in error, double strikes, misalignments, off-metal mistakes. But the 1993 penny's rarity is intentional, quiet, almost secretive. And that is precisely what makes it so compelling. Over the years, stories have emerged of lucky individuals stumbling upon this rare coin in inherited collections, old albums, or tucked away in forgotten drawers. For those few, the discovery is nothing short of magical. Holding a 1993 penny is like holding a mystery solved, a piece of history confirmed. And for those who understand its significance, its worth extends far beyond the metal it's made from. Collectors have paid thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands, for specimens in top-grade condition. But the world of coin collecting is not just about rarity. It's about the passion, the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery. Coins like the 1993 penny fuel that passion. They inspire new generations to look closer, to study, to learn. They remind us that even the smallest things can hold the biggest stories. That in a world of mass production, true uniqueness still exists. Today, in 2025, the legend of the 1993 Elizabeth II 1 penny has reached unprecedented heights. As more collectors enter the market, and as fewer pristine examples become available, the value of this elusive coin has skyrocketed. Auctions across the globe report fierce bidding wars, with elite collectors and institutions vying for ownership. Museums have started to display them not merely as currency, but as artifacts, symbols of a specific moment in British numismatic history. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the grand reveal. One 1993 Elizabeth II 1 penny, preserved in mint condition, recently made headlines in the collecting world by fetching a staggering $22 million at a private auction. Yes, you heard that right, $22 million for a single coin that, at face value, is worth just 1 penny. The buyer, whose identity remains anonymous, cited the coin's rarity, its pristine condition, and its unmatched historical narrative as justification for the record-breaking price. This sale has redefined not just the value of this coin, but the very possibilities of coin collecting as a whole. As we bring this remarkable journey to a close, take a moment to appreciate the power held within a coin no larger than a thumbnail. The 1993 1 penny may seem like a simple artifact, but its story is a tapestry woven with history, intention, mystery, and human passion. It's a reminder that even in our modern age, treasure can still be found. Sometimes, it's not buried deep underground or locked in a chest, it's waiting quietly in a proof set, gleaming with promise, ready to astonish the world. So next time you sort through your collection or stumble upon a dusty coin tucked away in a forgotten box, remember this story. Because in the world of coins, the line between ordinary and extraordinary is just 1 penny away. Stay tuned to HD Ultra Rare Coins for more incredible stories, breathtaking finds, and the timeless wonder of history in your hands.